In the heart of Nigeria, where the sun dipped into the horizon and painted the sky with hues of crimson and gold, lay the village of Akure. It was a small rural community nestled between two great rivers, where the air was sweet with the scent of mangoes and the sound of laughter echoed through the streets. Akure was a village steeped in tradition and folklore, where stories of ancient gods and goddesses were passed down from generation to generation. And among these stories, one legend stood out: the legend of the magic calabash. The magic calabash was said to be a vessel of immense power, created by the gods themselves to bring prosperity and good fortune to those who possessed it. It was said to be hidden deep within the forest, guarded by ancient spirits and enchanted creatures. Many had attempted to find the calabash, but none had succeeded. Some said it was cursed, while others believed it was simply a myth. But the people of Akure knew better. They knew that the magic calabash was real and that it held a key to their village's prosperity. In a small hut on the outskirts of the village lived a young boy named Kofi. Kofi was an orphan, raised by his wise and kind grandmother, Neoma. She had taught him the ways of the forest and the stories of their ancestors. Neoma was dark, tall, and though balded at the back, she was the most beautiful old lady of her kind. Kofi was a curious and adventurous boy, always eager to explore the world beyond his village, and he had always been fascinated by the legend of the calabash. One day, Kofi's grandmother called him to her side. She looked at him with a serious expression and said, "Kofi, the time has come for you to embark on a great journey. The magic calabash is real and it is hidden deep within the forest. I want you to find it and bring it back to our village." Kofi's eyes widened with excitement. Rolled up east to west, he had always dreamt of finding the magic calabash, and now his grandmother was giving him the chance to make his dream a reality. With a determined look on his face, Kofi set out towards the forest. The villagers watched him go, their faces filled with a mix of excitement and concern. As Kofi disappeared into the forest, the trees seemed to close in around him, casting deep shadows that stretched and twisted in the fading light. The air was thick with the scent of blooming forest and the sound of birds' song. Kofi took a deep breath, feeling the weight of his journey settle upon his shoulders. He knew that the forest was full of dangers, but he was determined to find the magic calabash and bring it back to the village of Akure. As Kofi walked deeper into the forest, the trees only grew taller and the underbrush thicker. He had to push aside the branches and fight his way through thorny vines. The air was hot and humid, and Kofi's skin crinkled with sweat. Despite the challenges, Kofi pressed on, driven by his determination to find the magic calabash. He had heard stories of the forest secret, of hidden clearing and ancient ruins. He wondered what other wonders the forest had held for him as he walked deeper into it. The forest grew quieter, the birds stopped singing, and the rustling of leaves ceased. Kofi felt a sense of unease as if he was being watched. He looked around him but saw nothing. Suddenly, a faint rustling sound came from a nearby thicket. Kofi's heart skipped a beat as a small, furry creature emerged from the underbrush. It was a bush baby. Its large eyes, shining with curiosity, could light 1,000 bulbs in a room. The bush baby approached Kofi cautiously, its tail twitching back and forth. Kofi held out his hands, and to his surprise, the bush baby nuzzled his palm. "You shouldn't be here," the bush baby said in a high-pitched voice. "This forest is full of dangers. The ancient spirits are restless and the enchanted creatures are wary of strangers." Kofi's eyes widened in amazement. He had never heard of a talking bush baby before. "What do you mean?" Kofi asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "The magic calabash is not for the taking," the bush baby replied. "It is guarded by powerful forces, and only those who are pure of heart and strong of spirit can claim it." Kofi thanked the bush baby for its warning, but he was undeterred. He knew that he had to find the magic calabash no matter the danger. The bush baby watched Kofi go, its eyes filled with a mixture of emotions, concern, and admirations. "May the gods be with you, young one," it whispered to itself. Kofi continued on his journey, the bush baby's warning echoing in his mind. He knew that he had to be very careful, but he was determined to find the magic calabash. As he walked, the forest grew denser, and the trees, like human shadows, only closed around him. Kofi heard the sound of rushing water and followed the sound until he came to a fast-moving river. The river was wide and deep. Kofi knew that he had to find a way to cross around it. He looked around, but there were no bridges or boats inside. Just as Kofi was wondering what to do, a figure emerged from the forest. It was an old man, dressed in a long flowing robe filled with wisdom like 1,000 angels bestowed it. "Hello, young one," the old man said, his voice low and gravelly. "What brings you to our forest?" Kofi explained his quest for the magic calabash, and the old man listened intently. "I can help you cross the river," the old man said, "but you must first answer my riddle." Kofi agreed to hear the old man's riddle, and the old man said, "What can be broken but never held? What can be given but never sold?" Kofi thought for a moment, and then a smile spread across his face as his brain signaled the answer to his face. "The answer is a promise," Kofi said confidently. The old man nodded, a look of approval on his face. "You are correct, young one," the old man said. "A promise is indeed something that can be broken but never held, and it is something that can be given but never sold." The old man gestured to a nearby log, and Kofi saw that it was hollowed out to form a small canoe. "This will take you across the river," the old man said. "But remember, the journey ahead of you will be difficult. You must be brave and clever if you are to succeed." Kofi thanked the old man and climbed into the canoe. The old man pushed the canoe into the water and Kofi began to paddle. The river was fast moving and Kofi had to paddle hard to make progress. The water was cool and refreshing, and Kofi felt invigorated as he paddled. As he crossed the river, Kofi saw a variety of animals, including fish, crocodiles, and birds. He felt a sense of wonder and awe at the beauty of the natural world. After a few minutes of paddling, Kofi reached the other side of the river. He climbed out of the canoe and looked around, taking in his new surrounding. The forest was denser on this side of the river, and the trees seemed to navigate so closely around him. He heard the sound of bird song and the rustling leaves, and he felt a sense of peace and tranquility. Kofi continued on his journey, walking deeper into the forest. The trees grew taller like an iroko tree, and the underbrush thicker, and Kofi had to push aside branches and fight his way through the thorny vines. As he walked, the forest grew more heavier in dark shades and the air only cooler. Kofi heard the sound of running water and followed the sound until he came to a small waterfall. The waterfall was beautiful, and Kofi felt a sense of wonder. He sat down on a nearby rock, taking in the sights and sounds of the forest. As he sat there, Kofi heard a faint rustling sound coming from behind the waterfall. He turned to see what it was, and his eyes widened in surprise. Behind the waterfall was a small cave, hidden from view, hidden from eyes and normal men. The cave was dark and mysterious, and Kofi felt a sense of curiosity. He got up from the rock and walked towards the cave, his heart pounding so much like 1,000 drums were being played in a very loud ceremony, but only with excitement. As he entered the cave, he saw that it was small and narrow with a low ceiling. The cave was dimly lit, and Kofi had to feel his way along the walls. He heard the sound of dripping water and faint rustling of unknown creatures. He walked deeper into the cave. Kofi saw a faint light in the distance. He walked towards the light, his heart pounding with excitement. As Kofi approached the light, he saw that it was coming from a small crystal nestled in the wall of the cave. The crystal was glowing with a soft, pulsing light, and Kofi felt a sense of wonder. He reached out a hand to touch the crystal, and as he did, he felt a sudden surge of energy. The crystal began to glow brighter, and Kofi felt to himself being drawn into its light. Suddenly, Kofi was flooded with visions and images. He saw the forest and its creatures, the river and its fishes. He saw the village of Akure and its people, and he saw the magic Calabash shining brightly in the distance as if hosted in the sky. The visions faded, and Kofi found himself back in the cave, standing in front of the glowing crystal. He felt a sense of anxiety to just rush in and grab the legendary Calabash, but he knew he had to take his time. Kofi looked around the crystals and saw that it was still glowing softly. He felt a sense of peace and knew that the crystal was trying to communicate with him. "What do you want me to do?" Kofi asked the crystal, his voice just as excited as it sounded. The crystal glowed brighter, and Kofi felt a surge of energy still. He closed his eyes, and when he opened them again, he saw that the crystals had stopped glowing. But Kofi knew that the crystal had given him a message. He felt a sense of clarity. He felt purposeful, and he knew that he was one step closer to finding the magic calabash. Kofi looked around the cave, trying to make sense of the crystal's message. He saw that the cave was small with rough stone walls and a low ceiling. But as he looked closer, he saw that the walls were adorned with ancient carvings. The carvings depicted the scenes of the forest creatures and ancient rituals. Kofi saw images of the magic calabash and felt the surge of excitement. He followed the carvings around the cave, trying to understand their meaning. As he reached the back of the cave, he saw a small inscription etched into the wall. The inscription read, "Where shadows fall, light rises. Seek the truth in the heart of the forest." Kofi pondered the meaning of the inscription. He knew that the forest was full of secrets, and he was determined to uncover them. Kofi made his way back to the entrance of the cave. As he emerged into the bright sunlight, he felt a sense of relief and wonder. He looked around, taking in the sights and sounds of the forest. He saw the trees swaying in the breeze as though it waved him, and he heard the songs of the birds. Kofi knew that he had to continue his journey. He had to find the magic calabash, and he had to uncover the secrets of the forest. He took a very deep breath, feeling a sense of determination. He set off into the forest, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. As Kofi walked through the forest, he encountered many dangers. He saw snakes slithering through the bush, and he heard the roar of lions in the distance. But Kofi was not afraid. Like Samson, he swore he could tear the mouths of 1,000 lions. He knew that he had to be brave if he was going to succeed in his quest. He walked for hours, the sun beating down on his head. He was hot and thirsty, but he refused to give up. As the sun began to set, Kofi came across a clearing. In the center of the clearing was a large tree, its branches stretching up towards the sky like skyscraping buildings. Kofi felt a sense of wonder. He knew that the tree was special, and he was determined to find out why. Kofi approached the tree, feeling a sense of reverence. The tree was massive, its trunk thick and gnarled with age. As he reached out to touch the tree, Kofi felt a sudden energy. The tree seemed to be alive, and it was communicating with him. "Welcome, Kofi," the tree said in a low, rumbling voice. "I have been waiting for you. You have come to find the magic calabash, but do you know what truly it is?" Kofi was taken aback by the tree's wonder. He had always thought of the magic calabash as a simple object, a tool to bring prosperity to his village, Akira. But now, he was beginning to realize that it was much more than that. The magic calabash was a key to unlocking the secrets of the forest, and it was a powerful symbol to the connection between humans and nature. "I don't know," Kofi admitted, feeling a sense of humility. "Then let me tell you," the tree said. "The magic calabash is a vessel of great power, one that holds the secrets of these very forests and 1,000 others, and the wisdom of ages. But it is also a test, a challenge to those who seek to wield its power. Kofi listened intently, his mind racing with questions as though he raced down with Usain Bolt. Doubts crowded his mind as though it was a thick nimbus cloud. He knew that he had to find the magic calabash, but he also knew that it wouldn't be easy. What do I need to do? Kofi asked, feeling a sense of purpose. You must prove yourself worthy, the tree replied. You must show that you have the power and the courage to wield the power of the magic calabash. Kofi nodded, feeling a sense of resolved determination. He knew that he was ready for the challenge and he was eager to begin. The first test is the test of courage, the tree said, its branches swaying in the wind. You must enter the cave of shadows, where your deepest fears will be revealed to you. Kofi felt a shiver like fever run down his spine. He had heard of stories of the Cave of Shadows, a place where even the bravest warriors feared to enter. But I am not afraid, Kofi said, trying to sound braver than he had felt. The tree chuckled, its branches shaking with amusement. We'll see about that, it said. The Cave of Shadows is not for the faint of heart. Are you sure you are ready for this? Kofi hesitated for a moment, but then he nodded his head. I'm ready, he said, trying to sound confident. The tree nodded its branches in approval. Then let us begin, it said. The Cave of Shadows awaits. Kofi took a deep breath and steeled himself for what was to come. He knew that this would be the toughest challenge of his life, but he was determined to succeed. With a sense of trepidation, Kofi set off towards the Cave of Shadows. He knew that his courage would be tested, but he was ready to face whatever came along. As Kofi entered the Cave of Shadows, he was immediately struck by the darkness that surrounded him. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth, and the sound of dripping water echoed off the walls. Kofi fumbled in his bag for a torch and lit it, casting flickering shadows on the walls of the cave abandoned for thousands of years. He took a deep breath and began to make his way deeper into the cave. As he walked, the shadows seemed to grow, and become longer and darker, twisting and writhing like living things. Kofi felt a shiver shuffle his head, and he quickened his pace. Suddenly, he heard a faint whispering in his ear. It was a soft, raspy voice, and it seemed to be coming from all around him. Turn back, Kofi, the voice whispered. This is a place of darkness and fear. You are not brave enough to face what lies within. Kofi spun around, trying to see who was speaking to him, but there was no one in sight. The voice seemed to be coming from the shadows themselves. Kofi took a deep breath and steeled himself. He knew that he had to be brave if he was going to succeed. I am not afraid, he said aloud, trying to sound confident. But the voice just laughed, a cold, mirthless sound. We'll see about that, it said, as Kofi walked deeper into the cave. Again the shadows grew more horrific. They twisted and writhed like living things, making it difficult for him to see. Kofi stumbled and almost fell, but he managed to catch himself just in time. He looked around trying to get his bearings, but the shadows seemed to be shifting the swirling around him. Suddenly, he heard the sound of footsteps echoing off the walls of the cave. They were heavy, deliberate footsteps, and they seemed to be coming from all around him. It felt like the shadows kept walking into him. Kofi spun around trying to see who was making the noise, but there was no one inside. The footsteps seemed to be coming from the shadows on the lingering walls. Kofi felt a surge of fear, but he tried to push it aside. He knew he had no chance or space for fear into him. He took a deep breath and began to walk forward, trying to ignore the footsteps and every other lingering sound of fear that nestled into the brain's mind. But it was difficult, and he stumbled again and again. Just when he thought he couldn't go any further, Kofi saw a faint light in the distance. It was a small, flickering flame, and it seemed to be beckoning him forward. Kofi stumbled towards the light, his heart pounding in his chest. As he reached it, he saw that it was a small torch stuck into the wall of the cave, and next to the torch, he saw a figure standing in the shadow. As Kofi approached the torch, the figure in the shadow stepped forward. It was an old woman, dressed in a long flowing robe. Her face was lined with age and wisdom, and her eyes seemed to see right through Kofi. "Welcome, young one," she said, her voice low and soothing. "I have been waiting for you. You have shown bravery and determination in the face of fear. You are worthy of the magic calabash." The old woman reached out and handed Kofi a small, intricately carved calabash. It was beautiful, with patterns and symbols etched into its surface. "This is the magic calabash," the old woman said. "It holds the power to bring prosperity and good fortune to your village. But remember, the power of the calabash is not just in its magic, but in the intentions and actions of those who possess it." Kofi took the calabash, feeling a surge of gratitude and accomplishment. He thanked the old woman and promised to use the calabash's power wisely. With the magic calabash in hand, Kofi began his journey back to his village, Akure. He felt a sense of pride knowing that he had overcome his fears and proved himself worthy of the calabash's power. He knew how he fought through the dark shadows like he was in a ring caged with heavy boxes, determined to succeed. As he walked, the forest seemed to grow brighter and more vibrant, as if the very trees and plants were celebrating for him. After many hours of walking, Kofi finally saw the village of Akure in the distance. He quickened his pace, eager to share the news of his success with his friends and family. With the magic calabash in hand, Kofi knew that his village would prosper and thrive, and he knew that he would always be remembered as the brave and determined young man who had brought the calabash's power back to his people. Kofi knew that he would always be regarded as a legend himself. The villagers of Akure gathered around Kofi, eager to hear the story of his journey and to see the magic calabash for themselves. As Kofi explained, the villagers listened with wide eyes and open mouths, amazed by Kofi's bravery and determination. When he finished his story, they erupted into cheers and applause. The village elder, a wise and kind old man, stepped forward and placed a hand on Kofi's shoulder. "We are proud of you, Kofi," he said. "You have brought honor and prosperity to our village, the village of Akure." The villagers cheered again, and Kofi felt a sense of pride and accomplishment. He knew that his journey was worth it. As the celebration continued, Kofi couldn't help but feel the sense of wonder. He had always known that the magic calabash was powerful, but he had never imagined that it would bring so much joy to his village. Little did Kofi know, however, that the magic calabash's power was not limited to bringing prosperity to his village or joy. It had much greater purpose, one that would change the course of Kofi's life forever. As the days passed, the villagers of Akira began to notice a change in their lives. Their crops were growing stronger and healthier, their livestock were thriving, and their homes were filled with laughter and joy. Kofi realized that the magic calabash was not just a simple object, but a powerful tool for the whole community as a whole. But as the villagers' lives continued to improve, Kofi began to notice that the calabash was having an even greater impact on the world around them. The forest was growing thicker and more vibrant, the rivers were flowing clearer and strong, and the very air itself seemed to be filled with a newfound sense of life and energy. Kofi realized the magic calabash was just so much powerful to understand. As Kofi pondered the true nature of the magic calabash, he heard a faint whispering in his ear. It was the voice of the old woman speaking from afar. Kofi, time has come for you to learn the true secret of the magic calabash, she said. Are you ready to embark on this journey of discovery? Kofi's heart pondered with excitement once again and anticipation. He knew that he was ready to learn the secrets of the magic calabash, to use its power to bring even greater prosperity and harmony to his village and the world around him. Kofi nodded eagerly, and the old woman's voice guided him on a journey of discovery. He learned the secrets of the magic calabash and how to harness its power to bring balance and harmony to the natural world. As he learned, Kofi realized that the magic calabash was too powerful. It was the key to the whole universe itself. He saw the interconnectedness of all things and the delicate balance of life itself. With this newfound understanding, Kofi returned to his village and shared his knowledge with the others. Together, they used the magic calabash to bring prosperity and harmony to their community. As the years passed, Kofi's village became a beacon of hope and inspiration, a place where people could come to learn and grow from far and near. Kofi, the young man who had once been so afraid of the unknown, became the wise and respected leader known for his bravery, wisdom, and compassion. The magic calabash remained a powerful symbol of the village's connection to the natural world and a reminder of the importance of living in balance and harmony. The story of Kofi and the magic calabash became a legend, told and retold for generations to come, inspiring countless others to embark on their own journeys of discovery and growth. And also, the story comes to an end, but the lessons and inspiration it provides will live on forever.
Please subscribe to watch more of our videos. Thank you.